What's up guys, Keegan here with Jordan Distributors. Today we are going to be showing you step by step how to install our plug and play push to start conversion kit. I will have a list down below in the video description of the vehicles that this install guide applies to, as well as other information that you will need to reference during install. Without any further ado, let's get started. For this install, we are going to start by disconnecting the battery. Next, we will move inside the car and remove the lower dash panel in the driver's knee area, as well as the clamshell surrounding the steering column. With these out of the way, we can begin the removal of the factory ignition switch. You can start by locating the ignition switch on the back side of the key cylinder and follow it down to two connectors. You will simply unplug them and plug in our plug and play push to start harness in their place. If you would like to mount your start button in the factory keyhole for a nice OEM look, then you will need to remove the factory key cylinder. The key cylinder is held in place with two screws, like shown here. These are tamper-proof screws that have no screw head to be able to turn them. You will need to use a chisel and hammer and give them a few taps to get them to turn. Don't worry, they aren't held in place that tight, and removing them is actually much easier than you may expect. If you would rather leave the factory key cylinder in place and mount your start button somewhere else, you can skip this step. Next, we need to attach the black wire to ground. We chose to use this 10mm bolt, shown here, to attach the ground wire. We recommend using a good ground location that is not being used by any other devices. Any good ground location of your choice will be just fine. Next, we need to attach the quick connector from our kit to the brake switch. We will have a chart in the video description below that will show you what color wire you will need to connect to in your specific vehicle. Simply line up the quick connector and give it a gentle squeeze with a pair of pliers until it is clicked into place. Then you can simply plug the orange wire from our kit into this connector. Now to install the antenna. The antenna wiring is quite long, which will allow you to mount it nearly anywhere that you would like. We chose to put it here behind this lower trim panel for easy access. However, if you would like to place the antenna somewhere else that is harder to find for added security, you most certainly can do so. Last but not least, we need to install the start button itself. This wire is also quite long, so if you would like to mount the start button on the dash or somewhere other than the factory keyhole, you will have plenty of wire to be able to do so. This button is the same size as the factory keyhole and requires no cutting or modification to get it to fit. It is worth noting that if you remove the factory key cylinder to mount your start button in the factory keyhole, then you will lose the function of the steering wheel lock. It does look nice to mount your start button in the factory keyhole, but if you would like to mount it somewhere else so that you can keep the steering wheel lock, you most certainly can do so. For an example, we are going to show mounting the start button to this lower dash panel. You will need to take into consideration the clips that hold this panel in and make sure that you drill your hole low enough to avoid interfering with these. Simply mark the hole with a punch and then with a hole saw, drill the hole for your button. We have these properly sized hole saws available on our website if you would like to purchase one. Any household drill will work just fine. Then, attach your start button and reinstall the panel. The process for starting the vehicle will be as follows. Simply insert the key into the ignition and turn it one click to unlock the steering column. Then, put your foot on the brake and press the button once to start. If you choose to install your button this way, make sure that you do not, under any circumstances, remove the key from the ignition while driving. The steering column will relock. Now, the only thing that you have left is to plug everything in to the push to start module, secure this box as well as all of the wires neatly under the dash, and reinstall the clamshell and lower dash panels. The install is now complete. Go ahead and reconnect the battery, scan your key tag over the antenna, put your foot on the brake, push the button, and the car will start